Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to flip a common idea right on its head. The idea that a crisis is always a bad thing. We're going to dive into a framework that shows you how to find real opportunity right in the middle of all that chaos.
So, think back to early 2026 for a second. It felt like every single headline, every notification on your phone was just screaming crisis, right? Just this constant stream of bad news. Global instability, economic problems, it was all pretty bleak.
And a big part of that was what was happening in the corporate world. You had these huge companies like UPS announcing massive job cuts. We're talking tens of thousands of people affected. It really felt like a huge, scary shift was happening.
At the same time, on the world stage, you had these major geopolitical shakeups, things that just seemed to crank up the instability and risk for everyone. It left a lot of us just wondering, okay, what on earth is coming next?
Okay, but here's the big question. What if all of that? What if that isn't the whole story? What if those headlines were only showing us one side of the coin? I mean, what if what we're calling a crisis is really just a market reset hiding in plain sight?
And that brings us to this really powerful idea called the crisis to revenue flip. Now look, this isn't about pretending the bad stuff isn't happening, not at all. It's about training your brand to look differently, to spot the hidden upsides that almost always come with major disruptions.
So what is it really? Well, at its core, it's a way to systematically look right past those scary headlines and find the potential. It's like reverse engineering the chaos to figure out, okay, where is the new value being created here?
And this quote right here, it nails it. Stop reading, start seeing. It's all about changing your mindset. Instead of just passively scrolling through the news, you become an active analyst. And the best part? This is a skill. It's something you can actually learn, how to see the patterns, connect the dots, and find those openings before everyone else does.
All right, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's dive into our first case study, that U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization.
Okay, so the crisis story here was pretty obvious, right? Everyone was talking about the loss of global disease tracking, huge funding gaps, and scary vulnerabilities in our supply chains. But if you apply the flip, you see something else entirely. You see a strategic pivot, a move towards U.S.-led biodefense, a chance to redirect all that funding into new domestic contracts, and this huge new demand for secure, American-focused logistics.
And look, this wasn't just some theory. This one single policy decision created real demand, like overnight. All of a sudden, companies needed AI-powered platforms to track diseases. They needed specialized apps for pharma logistics. You had a need for new software to manage aid directly. And of course, a huge boom for policy consultants who knew how to navigate this brand new world.
And this is where you really see the power of the flip. The scale here is just massive. We're talking about a market that was already big, but this event triggered a growth spike that could push it way over $100 billion. Just think about that. All of that opportunity, born from what everyone else was calling a crisis.
Okay, let's switch gears and apply this same framework to something a lot more personal for a lot of people: corporate layoffs. We're going to look at that UPS situation, a story that, on the surface just looks like bad news all around.
So the crisis headline wrote itself, right? UPS cuts 30,000 jobs. But when you do the flip, a much more interesting story emerges. The real story wasn't just the layoffs. It was this giant supply and demand problem in the whole trucking industry. See, UPS was shifting its focus to more profitable business, and that meant these highly skilled workers they let go, they were suddenly the perfect solution to a massive industry-wide shortage.
And this shakeup created three huge areas of opportunity. First, a ton of these experienced drivers had everything they needed to just start their own businesses, become their own bosses. Second, others could retrain for new related jobs. And third, you had people with deep industry knowledge who can now build the exact software tools the new logistics world needed.
I mean, this is like a textbook example of what they call creative destruction. The very same automation that might have replaced some jobs, well, it created a whole new demand for other, higher-skilled roles. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Someone's got to fix those robots, right? And someone has to train the next wave of drivers. And these aren't just any jobs. They're solid, good-paying career paths.
So let's just put this into perspective for a second. While one company was downsizing by 30,000, the entire industry was short more than 80,000 people.
That is a massive, massive gap. And that is where the real tangible opportunity was hiding. Okay, so these examples really show how powerful this way of thinking is. But the big question is, how can you start doing this yourself? Well, the great news is this isn't about being lucky. It's a skill. It's something you can absolutely learn. And there's a pretty simple playbook to get you started. It all starts with developing what some people call synthetic intelligence. And no, this has nothing to do with artificial intelligence. This is about using your own human brain to synthesize, to pull together information from all over the place. It's about being able to zoom out, see that big picture, and connect the dots between things that seem totally unrelated. That's where you find the hidden patterns.
So once you think you've spotted one of these flips, you can use this simple 3-step playbook to actually do something with it. First, build your foundation. That just means you got to do your homework, really become the expert on that topic. Second, amplify your insights. Get your ideas out there. Share what you found on social media, write about it, make a video, whatever works for you. Just share your unique take. And finally, you got to get noticed. Start connecting with people, Reach out to leaders in that space. Join the conversation. That is how you turn a cool analysis into a real-world opportunity.
At the end of the day, this whole framework, it's really a tool for empowerment. It's about training your own mind to see what's behind the scary headlines, to find the opportunity in a world that's always, always changing. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you see a crisis blowing up in the news, are you just going to see the threat? Or are you going to look for the opportunity that's waiting for someone to grab it?